And I want to introduce those of you who haven't met Jana yet. She is our newest board member. Well, actually, Jane is also a very new board member as well. They both joined at the same time. But Jana is our marketing director, and she's taken a lot of work off my plate that I used to do. So I'm very appreciative for her partnership. She writes all the email messages you've been getting that look like they're coming from Megan, but they're actually written by Jana for the most part. Um, so we've been working on that. She handles all the Instagram and Facebook stuff. So if you're interacting on there, that's her that's managing that. So she's been doing an awesome job kind of picking up my slack and really boosting our efforts with everything that the organization has done over the past year. She's kind of taking that to the next level for us. So tonight she's going to be talking about social media, which is one of the things her business does offer. And I'm just going to pass over the floor to her.
Thank you so much. That was really great. Yes, I am excited. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. So I am going to be talking about social media, as Angela said. Just 3 questions you should keep in mind when you are thinking through your marketing efforts and possibly hopping onto social. But first, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. As Angela mentioned, I am the marketing director here with KTBA, but I also have a business named Zedist. I specialize in brand voice, so just making sure that my clients' tone of voice is consistent from their point of sale all the way to the content on their website and across social as well. It's all cohesive and makes sense together. But we really do focus on the strategy involved with that and how to make sure that everything flows really nicely. Today, I thought we would just cover some of the biggest things I see with my clients and other people that I work with on social media, and start a discussion and answer any of your questions that you might have as well here at the end. Can everyone see my screen okay? Does anyone have a thumbs up for me? Awesome. Thank you. Cool. So the first question I want to answer here is, what channels should I use for my business? I think social media can be very overwhelming if you haven't done it before. You may be thinking there's 20 channels and I don't even know where to begin, so I'm not going to do it at all. So that's why I wanted to answer this question here first. And just looking over some of the top channels, Facebook is basically the main Facebook channel, I would say, because they own so much of the social media. They own Instagram, WhatsApp, and some other apps that you may have heard of as well. So it is really an important channel to look at. But what Facebook does really well is make a place for you to post updates, curated content from other users who you might admire or, partner with as a brand. It really propels video views if you have, a great videographer or a very visual product that you could play with. And also it's really good for photography. I like to recommend Facebook for business to consumer brands. It also can work for B2B, but most of the time people are utilizing Facebook in order to find out more information about a product or service. So it's great for online shops, realtors, and other brands that can find a unique way to make their content engaging. Instagram, on the other hand, while it's also great for B2C, it's a very visual platform. So if you have a brand, let's say you're an online store and you have beautiful photography of your products and people using them, that's a really good use case for you. There's also a shop option on both of these channels where you can link directly to products. So great for visual brands, people that are motivational, fitness brands, coaches, and anyone who has a really unique story to tell. Now, for more B2B channels, I would recommend Twitter and LinkedIn. Twitter is really a great platform that I think is underrated, and it works really well for B2B and large B2C brands, and some use cases for other companies as well. But Twitter really fosters a great place to have a conversation with other thought leaders, other people who are looking for information in your area of expertise, and can even help you grow your network of people in your industry. So if you're a writer like me, you might get on Twitter and tweet about writing and tweet with other writers about, different strategies they use for SEO or for their book writing. It's just a really great platform for that. And also, what's great about Twitter is you can post almost anything on there, where Instagram is best for really beautiful photography, videography, and graphics. Twitter, you can post just text, you can post videography and photography, and you can also post links to other sites pretty easily. And finally, just quickly going over LinkedIn, it's really great for B2C brands, business consultants, software companies, any sort of brand that is really going to be helpful in the business world. It's another wonderful platform for thought leaders. So if you can answer questions that people might have and post think pieces about them, or interact with the community in some way, LinkedIn is a great source for that. So you might think that using all of the channels is going to be the best bet for you, but unless you are working with an agency or have a marketing team that's fully staffed, social media is going to be hard to do on all channels. So my suggestion for any business owner that's trying to run their business, do social media, do other marketing that everyone has to do, like sending out emails and updating their customers, is to pick the social media channel that interests you the most and do that very well. And as you get comfortable with it, maybe you could add on a secondary social channel. And as your team grows, possibly growing into all of the other social channels as well. So don't put too much pressure on yourself to do this. Just make sure that you're having fun with it and you're doing one channel really well. The other thing I wanted to bring up in this topic is cross-posting. So one of the main issues I see, particularly on Facebook, is people using that share button from Instagram to Facebook to share an Instagram post directly there. When you do something like this, cross-posting from Facebook to Twitter or Instagram to Facebook or whatever that looks like, you're basically losing the usability of that channel. So just as an example, on Instagram, you might see a post that says link in bio because you can't embed a link on Instagram. When a brand shares that exact post to their Facebook, now Facebook says link in bio, but there's no bio to check. So you're losing the opportunity to have people find your website with that link because it doesn't exist. Obviously, there are many other channels you might be interested in. Pinterest is one of my favorites right now. Channels like Quora, Reddit, TikTok, they might be the best for you. So I would suggest diving into research a little bit to see who is on these channels, how they're engaging with it, and if that interests you. The second question is, what should I talk about? So coming up with social media content every single day can be a lot. At first, you jump out the gate and you have so much to say, and then that quickly wears off, and you might start to lose kind of what even to talk about. So, whether you have a shop or restaurant, if you're a service-based business like my business, you do have something unique to say. It just takes sitting down and thinking through that. I like to start with brand purpose, which I know our member Petra is a expert in. If you have any needs for going over that, but starting by thinking about your brand and your brand's purpose in the community and in your marketplace. And then after that, thinking about, okay, so what does my customer need from me and how does that link to my purpose? So for me, my purpose is to spread positive messaging with my clients. So in order to get those clients, what do they need from me? They need to know maybe who I work with, how to do the work that I do, and my philosophy on marketing. So organize those thoughts into 3 to 5 buckets, and then you know where to start. So you can say, today I'm going to talk about who I work with. Tomorrow it's going to be how I use marketing. So I have this example here of a real estate agent. Real estate agent X wants to talk about these 4 buckets: the communities they specialize in, current home data and trends, their current inventory or sold homes, and their office and company culture. So by having these buckets picked out, you can, if you're out of home data to talk about, you can say, okay, well, today let's just talk about our office and the company culture there. And finally, how do I reach the most amount of people? This is probably the question I get the most, because all of us want to reach the most amount of customers possible. So my biggest suggestion is to always post natively to the platform. So that means if you have a YouTube video, let's say it's a good example, and you want to post that video to Facebook, I recommend taking the actual MP4 file and uploading that to Facebook instead, because Facebook as a platform doesn't want their users going to YouTube. So they might not show the video to as many people if they see that it's a YouTube link. So by uploading the MP4 directly to Facebook, you're keeping people on their profile, and in return, they're going to send more traffic to that video. Second, use the tools the platform gives you. So on Instagram, for instance, you get 30 hashtags. Use them. That is a tool to reach people organically on the platform. It's a way for people to search and find you. And it, quite frankly, can get you really great results without spending any money. Also, location tagging, tagging other users, filling up the description with some really rich text that people want to read and engage with. Third is use links wisely. So again, kind of getting back to that natively to the platform posting, it's keeping people on the platform as often as you can, but there are times when we all need to link to our blog or our home pages or a sale we might be having. Try to do it as wisely as you can and not with every single post. And then finally, the final thing is engage with people. Social media is meant to be a place where we're social, where we're engaging with others. So if you're just scheduling a post out on a social and then never checking it again, people aren't going to want to engage with that. They're just going to say, this brand never talks back to me, so why would I leave a comment? So just make sure that you're going on and leaving some engagement on the table. Over here is an example of hashtag usage for a client I've worked with where it was a brand new page. We had about 70 followers, and by using hashtags, we were able to reach over 4,000 people on a post. So it just really shows the power of using these tools that the platform gives you to get those clicks back to your website and saves of people just really wanting to engage with your content. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, hi, this is Jackie. Jana, thanks so much. That was great. I think you hit all the major questions I would have. I do have a question about how engaged to be socially, when you're starting out, because that can become a full-time job. And quite frankly, depending on the nature of your content, you know, there's all kinds of trolls and other things to deal with. So do you have any suggestions about that kind of management, how to maybe, are there some tips you would have around that? Thank you.
Yeah, definitely can relate to that being a full-time job, the community management aspect of that. But also, it's just such a great problem to have. If you're having so many people comment and interacting with your content that it's taking your whole day, like, tell me how. I need to know. So, but there is a good question about negative comments or people just like messing with you on social. I operate under the notion that you should answer everyone once if you can. Now, if you have thousands of comments under a post, you can't expect that. But then if someone continues to be negative or continues to just kind of bring that energy, you just leave it. So always trying to stay positive as far as your business goes, and taking into consideration feedback someone might have, but then making sure that you're not feeding into a sort of like situation that you can't win in. Does that help?
Yes, thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
I see we have another question from Leia, who raised her hand.
Hi.
Hi.
I was hoping, I wondered if you had any recommendations regarding posting software, like, or posting management software, because I definitely am one of those guilty from, I prefer Instagram platform, and so I just rather share it direct. And I get what you're saying about like the different links, but how do you feel about some of the different management softwares that are available?
For Instagram in particular, I love a platform called Planoly. I believe you can have it for free if you don't need to be tagging people and locations all the time, but it's $19.99 a month without that. It allows you to kind of lay out your grid ahead of time and schedule in a very visual way, which is really great. And you can pre-tag people and tag locations. So it just makes it a really easy scheduler to work with. For Facebook, I really love a platform called CoSchedule. You can also use CoSchedule for Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can use it across the board. It's one of the few that even works with Pinterest. So that's a really great one. And then Hootsuite has a free version that also works really well. So I would recommend looking into those. I don't know that CoSchedule has a free option, but I think Hootsuite does. So if you're looking for something that your team can kind of easily use, then I would recommend those three.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Looks like Nancy Suda has a question.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a question for Jana, but I do know that when I post on Facebook for my company, and I have found out too, like you said, if you link it to another website, then Facebook kind of pushes you through the algorithm to another side. But what I try to do is post my information, and then in the comments, I will post my link to my website. And so that's kind of a way of getting around that.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's a great method for LinkedIn as well. They're kind of similar in the way that the algorithm works. So saying like link in comments or just putting the link in your comments is a really great way to kind of play with the system a little bit, if you will. So yeah, great advice there, Nancy.
Great. We have another question from Katrina. Katrina, you want to go ahead? You're on mute also. Okay, we're gonna take a question from Petra, and then Katrina, you can go next. Or, oh, okay, I see you're off of mute. Go ahead.
Thank you, Angela. I just want to talk about Nextdoor. I've been seeing a lot of messages, emails coming from Nextdoor talking about their new business program, and I wonder if anyone's used it as of yet. You know, advertising on Nextdoor.
Yeah,
I have not. Angela, do you have any feedback there?
Yeah, I could potentially talk about this. This is one that's actually come up in conversation with Jana and I before. She's not been a user of the platform, but I have for a long time as a lead here over in Talmadge. And I've also noticed the same thing, Katrina, with they're rolling out a lot of new programs for businesses.
Yeah.
And especially during COVID, they basically started allowing anyone with a business profile to make posts twice a month for free. Before it was pretty much just paid stuff for businesses. So I definitely want to start incorporating that into my social media strategy personally, and I'm going to be recommending it to my clients, particularly, small local businesses, because I think it's a great platform. It gets a lot of reach. I just made a couple of posts on my business page and it got a lot of response. So it's definitely new, and they're definitely constantly like pushing updates and changing like what you're allowed to do, how things work. But I think it's moving in a really good direction for businesses right now. So I would definitely say it's a good platform to start exploring.
That's great to know.
Thank you.
I don't even try Nextdoor, so that's something I need to log on to and check out.
Totally. Petra, did you have a question?
It's not so much a question. It's number 2, you said the buckets, what to talk about. I think I missed one. So you said talk about your brand purpose, talk about all the information your client needs to know. And what was the third one?
Let me check.
And then also how much do you fold in as far as like behind the scenes and maybe more like sharing private matter or, about the business owners?
That's a great question. So to answer your first question about the buckets, I recommend using your brand purpose, thinking through what your customers need to know, and just using that to kind of backwards work through that problem. Like, okay, what would my customer find interesting? They might find like my hobbies interesting. A lot of times, we as humans, we want to see faces on a feed. We want to hear about another human experience. So that might be something you want to talk about. But they also want to know about my process, because that's important for anyone who works with any of us, more than likely. And then, how they could possibly do the work. I know it sounds counterintuitive to teach someone what you do, but I think for many of our businesses, if you're showing that you can teach someone else how to basically do what you do, in my case, if I wrote about a blog or how to write a blog, that's also what I offer as a service. But it's showing that I'm willing to help out a team when they do need it. So just reversing that process. As far as sharing behind the scenes, I am an introvert. So for me, I don't even want to share ever anything about myself. So I think it depends on the person. It's definitely better to be able to give people a little insight into your life and more about you if you're comfortable with it. Some people just aren't. And so I just don't think that social is anything you should stress yourself out about in that regard. Make sure you're giving a lot of interest with your business centric content, and then as much as you're comfortable with in personal life and behind the scenes is my recommendation. Yeah. Anything else?
Nancy?
I have another question for Janet, and that is, are you finding on Facebook that just regular posts are better for online businesses or stories?
I actually have been finding that stories tend to reach more people right now. So a good rule of thumb is if a social media site is trying out a new service, or if they're giving you a new tool to use, you should try it, because that's going to get you the most reach. When live videos came out, they were showing your live video to everyone. And stories are a little older now, but you do see that they're reaching more people. I still think the feed posts on Facebook are getting more bang for your buck, because you can add the links, you can add, more text, more images if you want to. So the use case for stories on Instagram is great. For Facebook, I think they have a little ways to go. So yeah.
I don't want to put Sean on the spot, but I was thinking with the question related to Nextdoor, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Sean was just actually featured on a commercial that Nextdoor ran. It was super cool. Do you want to tell us about your experience on Nextdoor?
Yeah, first of all, hi everybody. So when I first moved here in February, I just moved here in February, and it's hard, when you move to try to get the business off the ground, especially in a new community. You have to do your research, figure the businesses out, not come off too snobby. And I started utilizing Nextdoor, and through that, because I was, kind of actively using it, I got selected and went to like the raffle or whatever. They started emailing people who were, or businesses that actively use Nextdoor. And it was a solicitation for a commercial, Lo and behold, I was a little skeptical. Anyone would, when you're throwing out free marketing on top of being paid, you're like, so it turned out to be legit, full film crew. And the commercial itself was just an added bonus. So they did 1 day of shooting, and the one that I posted recently is just like a tiny snippet of everything they recorded. And it was from other businesses around the country. And I'm able to use that as extra marketing, as far as, because there's multiples of them all cut and snipped up in different ways. So you can, in relation to Jana being, brainstorming about social media and advertising your business, I'm using those little commercials, not posting them one right after the other, but, waiting for the right moment. Maybe like in a month or so, or something related to, maybe like the next commercial was about dogs. We talked about dog parks and stuff like that. So I might wait till like dog day or your puppy day, and then I'll post that one then. So just because you have all the tools, figure out what's your best strategy for you, and when to utilize those tools, because you're going to have them. You're going to be like, oh, I want to use them all. But if you bombard people with too much advertising and too much of you, people get tired of you, and they kind of lose interest, because it like devalues your organic view of your business.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Sean. That's so awesome that you had the opportunity to do that. I loved seeing those. That was awesome. I totally agree on, any kind of content that I get. Right before COVID, we had our new office shot from the architect and the interior designer that did it. And I just wanted to post like all the pictures. I was so excited, but I knew that it was like, okay, that's going to get boring if I just post like 10 of these in a row every day or something. So I tried to be patient and stretch them out, but that's always the problem when you do have a video shoot or photo shoot or create something really awesome that you feel like you want to share. It's actually better to just like spread those things over more relevant time. So I love that idea of just being patient.
Yes, really great advice.
Jenny, you have something? You're muted. There you go.
Okay. I was just wondering how many people here actually actively use Nextdoor. Like,
Good question.
I'm curious. Not very many of you, huh?
Interesting. Oh, Jane.
Oh, there's a few.
Yeah.
Because I know that myself, I use it a lot, especially for referrals because it's local people. And I liked hearing what you had to say about Nextdoor, and I'm going to go, get more up to speed because it's also very gossipy, but they have a whole section on recommendations that I use it and recommend people routinely. So maybe it's a hidden gem that we haven't been using very well. Anyway,
Yeah.
That's my thought. Yeah.
Yeah, Robin says she found it difficult as a business owner. I think, initially when they first allowed business profiles, it was very like you could almost do nothing. You could get people like maybe to mention you, and then you would just have like however many hearts next to your business of how many people mentioned you, but that was really it. You could only just see that. But now you can actually have almost like a page and you can make posts in addition to the recommendations portion. So, I mean, and this is just over the last couple months. So it's super developing. And I know for me personally, I'm like, oh, I need to like spend some time and like look at that because it is constantly changing. So definitely check it out as a business owner. Like I said, I've been using Nextdoor for years personally because I've actually met even some of you guys through Nextdoor and how I got plugged into the community just from a personal level in the first place. So I've always found value in it that way. But I think now it's finally just beginning to have a good impact for businesses too. Cool. Any other questions for Jana? All right. Cool. Well, thanks again, Jana. That was awesome. Super informative.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for putting that together for the group. I'm Angela, of course. Most of you know me. And Chris, my partner, and I run Noble Intent Studio. We specialize in digital marketing and custom website design and development with a focus on website accessibility. And if you don't know us yet, you've probably seen our work on the KTBA website and most likely around town on websites like Bench Home and Cucina Restaurants. I was kind of checking out the list of our group, and believe it or not, we've actually done websites for 10 of the members in this group, which is so awesome. We love all of you guys. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We love working with other KTBA members, of course. But the number one question we get from clients and friends and pretty much everyone knowing what we do is, how do I get my website to show up at the very top of Google? And this is basically called SEO, or search engine optimization. And we factor that into every website design and build process that we go through. So what I want to talk to you guys about tonight is 5 strategies to improve your Google ranking. So in determining page ranking, Google and other search engines consider a few things. They consider how recently your content has been updated, if other websites are linking to your website, and if your website is mobile friendly, accessible, and some other technical things associated with your website. So these are kind of the top 5 things, and I would say they're pretty much in order of importance. So sometimes we work with clients who are creating a brand new business with a new domain name, and of course they want to show up at the top of Google right away, but all these factors come into play, and also in addition, the age of your domain name and the age of your website are actually factors that come into play too. So a lot of this stuff like developing content and referral links, it just takes time to kind of get you the results you're looking for. And there's really no one trick to move your website up in Google's ranking, but making sure you have at least these bases covered is going to go a long way. So the first and most important thing we're going to talk about is content marketing. So you may have heard the phrase content is king. It's true. Content marketing is widely recognized as being the key driver to better search engine rankings. It's been that way for quite a long time, and it's basically the key to overall website success. So I know a lot of you guys know Susan Guillory, who's here tonight, and Jana, who you just heard from. They actually specialize in content marketing, and that's what they do for a living. Most of you have seen both of them using their amazing content marketing skills as board members here on the KTBA board as well. But this is a huge profession. It's a huge industry, and it really is super important to have really relevant content on your website. So well-written blog posts and website pages filled with well-researched keywords are the #1 thing we encourage our clients to focus on within their digital marketing strategy to improve their Google ranking. So we actually share a number of our website clients with Jana. She provides SEO-focused content for a lot of the websites we work on. One of the best ways to drive leads to your website is through engaging blog posts, ebooks, and other resources filled with not only relevant information to your target market, but also relevant search terms. So that's kind of the key to serving both your customer and Google as well. And they do go hand in hand. So since 53% of website traffic actually comes from organic search, this is people just typing search terms into Google or other search engines, it's super important that you have well-researched and intentional search terms used throughout your website, both within resources like blogs and definitely within your general website page content as well. And the second thing, according to Google, links along with that quality content are 2 of the 3 most important ranking factors for SEO. So Google has explicitly said this. This is one of the things people kind of in the past are like, what does Google use as their parameters to rank? So they've actually said these are the two out of 3 things that they use to rank. So even if you've created this amazing content that people are searching for and that provides value to your target market, that doesn't mean that the content is immediately going to start to rank super high. The other piece of the puzzle is establishing authority. So you can establish domain authority by having other more authoritative websites linked to your site. So we're going to talk here about referral links as backlinks and internal links. So inbound links or backlinks are links that point from one website to another. So think of these as online referrals. If you asked 3 people here tonight who to go for if you're looking to install solar panels on your house, everyone would probably recommend Jane's company, Homegrown Energy Solutions. And since you're asking people you know and that are trustworthy, due to our reputations as your friends and connections within the group, you would say we're a pretty authoritative referral source, and therefore you'd trust Jane with the solar panel job. So you can basically think of websites the same way. So websites that are considered authoritative based on how much traffic they get, their domain age, what other websites link to them, means if those websites link to you, that boosts your authority as well. So if 3 websites that have high domain rating link to you, ultimately that affects your ranking. So there's a few different tools you can use. There's one called Ahrefs Domain Authority and Backlink Checker. I can send out these slides to people if you're interested in some of these tools, but you can basically check out your own scores. So the screenshot that I included on this slide is basically a list of all of the 101 websites that link to our website from across the internet. Some of these websites are, they don't have a very high domain authority. Maybe they're brand new websites. Maybe they just don't get a lot of traffic for whatever reason. But over the years, we've developed these backlinks just organically, and we have 14,000 backlinks if you count them all up. So a few examples of ways you can start getting backlinks would be guest blog posting, partnerships with other companies where you're saying, you know, okay, let's link to each other's website. Again, it has to be sort of an intentional and realistic. You don't just want to put a random link up on someone's website that it makes no sense. But if you're writing a piece of content, maybe for an industry leader or something, and you say, wow, I researched it, this website gets tons of traffic, my content is highly relevant to their target market, you could reach out to them and say, hey, I wrote this piece I recently published, I'd love for you to republish it on your blog, and link back to my website. I'll give you this content. And companies are looking for really good quality content to post on their website. So this is actually really commonplace. I get requests all the time from people who say, hey, I have all these blogs I wrote. Can you please post one? I'm trying to establish, you know, my authority. A lot of times the content will maybe be not that good, but sometimes it actually is really well written. And I am totally happy to post that on my own website if the subject matter makes sense for my audience and it's well written. So that's a great example. Of course, you know, I know that Susan, myself, Jana, we've all, you know, been hired to write blog posts for other companies as well. And now those link back to our websites. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. And then another one too that's really started, at least in my experience, kind of gaining some popularity is best of lists. So you'll see on our examples here, I have a few that are like clients of ours, a few that are guest blog posts that I was hired to write back in the day when I was more of a writer. And then some of the highest domain authorities that are linking to us are these like top 60 web design companies in San Diego or top San Diego web design companies. Again, these are just companies, they're trying to create content for their site. They either asked us to include us or they just included us and like we just found out about it when someone came to us and said, hey, I heard about you through this list on themanifest.com or designrush.com. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. But so these lists are out there. You can reach out to these kind of companies within your industry and get placed on these lists. And if they have high domain authority, they'll actually help you out. So the other kind of referral link is an internal link. And while having less of an impact, internal links are just as important to a referral link strategy. So what this is basically cross-referencing and linking to other content within your own website. This helps guide visitors to relevant content and conversion pages, kind of leading them down the funnel. So if someone searched for something, came to your website or blog post and was reading about it, and then from that blog post, you say, hey, would you like to get more information on our relevant service? You kind of link them to another page that's more of a conversion page and kind of guides them through a customer journey. So this internal linking is super important. It also tells Google these pages with a lot of internal links are more important than your other pages because you're linking to them all the time. So the third thing is mobile friendliness. Now this is pretty much a no-brainer nowadays since most of us are on our phones all the time and web browsing on our phones. So from a design and user experience standpoint, ensuring your website is mobile friendly has definitely been a key consideration in building websites since the iPhone gained in popularity. And that was quite a while ago. But at first, websites had a little bit of a learning curve. We didn't really know exactly how to do that the right way. How do you convert a website that used to just be seen on a wide monitor to a tiny little phone? So now people are doing this. We know how to do it, but that's definitely a key thing. And in 2015, Google announced that websites optimized to work well on mobile devices would actually receive a boost in their ranking. But today, mobile website traffic actually accounts for more than 50% of total traffic. So now Google doesn't just boost your ranking if you consider being mobile friendly, they actually penalize websites who aren't mobile friendly. And the latest news from Google is that they're rolling out a new mobile first indexing across the web. So what that means is they're only going to use the mobile version of your website from now on to determine your ranking. So it's super important that your website is highly usable on a mobile device. So we have a simple tool here that Google provides. You can just type in your website and it will show you that your website, you know, is mobile friendly. And if it's not, they give you some suggestions.
There's a bed right here. Come here, bed. Right here.
So the next thing is website accessibility. This is becoming more and more of a key consideration for websites. It's actually one of our favorite topics. We've even written an ebook on it, and we speak about it a lot at industry events. And we're so glad that Google has announced they're going to be including accessibility in their algorithm for rankings, because it's just so important to create an inclusive internet that can be used by everyone. And what accessibility means exactly is that a website can be viewed by assistive technology devices such as screen readers, which are tools that people who are visually impaired or blind can use to actually access websites. These screen readers read the text audibly from them. As well as that your website can be viewed by people with differing abilities across the spectrum, from low vision, color blindness, or even things like dyslexia. So small tweaks to the visual design, like color contrast, font size and placement, as well as code tweaks to ensure that these screen reader technology programs can actually use them, are sometimes all you need to ensure your website is accessible and can be used by people of all abilities. So most relevant to our discussion today about SEO and how accessibility relates to that is, when you solve for accessibility, you actually solve for SEO, because many of the considerations are the same. I mean, think about how Google crawls your website. They're just using robots to read the text of your website, right? And an assistive technology like a screen reader is just a computer program that's looking at the text of your website and then saying it audibly to a blind person or visually impaired person. So when you solve for one, you solve for the other. And this is true in multiple facets of accessibility as well, but that's just one example for the benefits of SEO. So we have an ebook on that on our website if anyone's interested in learning more. We'd of course love to talk about that topic in more detail. But the fifth and final thing is technical SEO. So making sure your website doesn't have any of these problems is going to ensure your site is easy to find and crawl for Google. These also all improve user experience, and over time, all these things together are going to improve your organic traffic numbers. So I'm a little bit over time here, so I'm going to jump right into questions at this point. Let me jump back up to my screen here.
Angela, are you going to forward out this presentation to the group so we can have the references?
I think it would be great if I can get Jana's and get mine, and we'll send them
Yeah,
out.
that would be awesome, because it's been really very informative, really good content. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw one question from Nancy Flint said, do you offer consultations? And yes, of course, we offer free consultations. We can definitely, talk about any of your needs and how we might be able to help you. Absolutely. And Leah says, can we come on after a site is made and improve for the ADA compliance and accessibility? Yeah, so this is actually something that we do, and we even partner sometimes as a third party coming in with another design team, another development team, and they say, hey, we actually did this for the Minge Museum. Recently, one of our friends was making the website, and they said, hey, this is really important to us. We know our audience. We want to be making sure we're ADA compliant and accessible. So we came in as a third party. I think it was either right before the site launched or right after. But anyways, we did a full audit of the site and said, hey, they did an awesome job. There's a few things we can do better. Let's consider these things. We've also done that as well for websites that are maybe, been in existence for a long time. We can come in and say, hey, here's what you need to do. We do a full audit and report, and that'll say, here's what's right, here's what's wrong. We can fix it as well. We could estimate, hey, it would take us maybe 10 hours to fix this stuff or whatever. And we can do that as well. Any other questions from anyone?
All those things that you missed on the number item 4 or 5, I forget what it was, but can you zip through those really fast? Because that's all like another language.
Yeah, the technical SEO things.
Just in broadly, what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually invite Chris to pop over around here with me, or I don't know, stay where you are, but he can answer some of those
Hi, Chris.
questions. But yeah, there's a few technical SEO things like page speed, not configuring your HTTPS certificate, broken links, and things like that that he can talk through.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, I mean, if we look at these like poor page speed, this happens if, I'm sure you've experienced it, you're on your phone, you try to load a page and it takes like so long, you're not sure if your phone is broken and you just leave. I mean, Google doesn't like that because that's what people will do. They'll just leave your website. And the HTTPS, if you've ever seen some websites have a little like lock at the top of them, or now more often there's a thing that says it's not secure, and potentially it'll even like throw up a warning in front of that. Almost every website hosting or platform has an easy way to enable HTTPS certificates. They should be free. They should automatically renew. You should not be paying hundreds of dollars a year like that used to be the case, but now everything is free. And so that's why we're basically requiring it. A sitemap is something that basically you can just tell Google, here's where all of our different links are. Maybe we can actually pull one up, but duplicate content, this could happen potentially when if you like have like one blog post and then you try to post it again, or maybe like Angela was mentioning, like having other companies maybe repost your content. It is important to work with their team to make sure that you set it up so that if there's the exact same content, you can tell Google which one is the like source of it, and then that's okay to have duplicate content. And broken links, I mean, this is just when you click on something and then it's broken. Real quick, we can show you what a sitemap is. I'm gonna share this one. I'll just show you ours, for example. This is something that is probably the one thing that most users wouldn't actually see, but if Google sees this, they can kind of go in and click through and then just at a glance see every single, in this case, blog posts that we've written, and just quickly get through finding all the links. That helps them kind of determine what they need to crawl and index.
Yeah. And yeah, does that answer your question, Jenny?
Yeah, I was particularly, my eyes went really quickly to the HTTPS.
Okay.
And you did that one for me. Thanks.
Yeah, basically just secure, just making sure your website has a little lockbox at the top.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go check mine, but you guys did it for me, so I know it's right.
Jenny, you shouldn't have any technical SEO concerns or accessibility concerns on your brand new website, for sure.
Loving that, yeah.
So Leah asked, is having an older website automatically a ding? So actually, having an older website, having a older domain that's been around for a while is actually a really positive thing. I think the key is, in terms of like an old website, is more not necessarily the age of your domain, which is a positive, but if you've been keeping it updated is the key thing as it ages. So we like to think about a website as kind of like a garden. Of course, when you first make it all and it looks beautiful and done, it's like fabulous and great, but basically day 2, there's going to be some weeds popping up, some stuff is going to die. Over time, you're going to have to tend it and maintain it, and that's really the key. So an older website, inherently, no, that's actually a good thing. But if it's like you haven't touched it and haven't really made updates, you know, haven't made improvements over time to address new technology requirements, like, you know, making sure it's mobile friendly and things like that, that's usually the problem with old websites as it relates to this stuff, is just that they haven't been updated and maintained.
Right.
Cool. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Petra.
So SEO that's one of your services. So I have a website that's all done, but it needs to be optimized. That's something you do.
Yeah, definitely. Cool, guys. Well, thanks
All
again.
right.
Please do
Great
email us
job, Angela and
with
Jana.
anything.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
Thank you so
Really
much.
well done.
Thank you so
Well
much.
done.
Yeah,
everybody.
fantastic.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you all.
Welcome.
Have a good night. Happy
Okay,
weekend.
good night.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Great to see everyone.